Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on the introduction to Confluence. So for the next hour or so, we'll be taking a dive into the features that Confluence offers, starting with just the basics to help you get up and running, especially for those of you that are new to the tool. We'll show you some basics there. But then we'll start diving into other features to help you really leverage Confluence in your situation at your organization. My name is Tony Hartsfield, and I am a business consultant at Expium. Expium is a Platinum Solutions partner for Atlassian products, and I'll introduce a little bit more about us later. Today, as we are focusing on our agenda, we'll spend time talking about what is Confluence itself. We'll look at the basic structures of the tool, some of the editing capabilities on a wiki page, and then we'll dive into some other features that allow you to make some very customized reporting tools for your Jira projects, for instance, how it really can become a content portal for any type of project or group or team department. We'll spend a brief amount of time talking about the actual governance, maintaining the structure of your Confluence instance, and then we'll have some time at the end for you to ask your questions. And so there is a Q&A section in this meeting bar that you have, that if you have questions as we go through, you can go ahead and enter those throughout the session, and then at the end we can go through some of those questions and see if we can answer them for you. So a little bit about who we are as Expium. Expium is, again, a Platinum Solution partner with Atlassian. Our main office is in St. Louis, Missouri, but we have consultants around the globe, actually. We offer training, just like this, the webinars that we have every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time on a variety of topics. And so however you got to that one, you will be receiving information about how to find other events and webinars and training opportunities. But we work like this. We also do extensive bootcamp classes in Jira, Confluence, and now Jira Service Management. And so those are classes that we do both offer to the public, and then also private client classes that happen in person or online as we do so. And then another large portion of what we do is we consult with clients who are starting to utilize Atlassian products. We can actually help them with licensing it. And then we can also help them in the installation, the migration, the governance, the management, et cetera, for all things. And we have clients, as small as 50 and instances as large as 60,000. So we like to help that. And then we have a sister company that is a full stack developer that when we're assisting our clients and they need additional help with any type of customized add-ons, API tools to help them integrate with existing applications, we can help with that as well. And so we're happy to be a part of that. Into the commercial. Let's talk about Confluence then, shall we? What is Confluence? Confluence is a wiki-style editing tool that can serve basically as a documentation or documentation tool for whatever it happens to be, for your project, for your team, for your group, and that using that, it can be the location, the centralized location for information sharing, and it also can become a very powerful place for reporting. So your project work might be taking place in Jira, but the reports actually for your management team and those that are the stakeholders might take place in Confluence. And so it's great for that. And among the reasons is that because it's the ability to create content, but then you can begin to customize it, and the tool is flexible enough that you can really make your points and make your presentations, your reports that make sense and can be convincing, and clearly give your organization the information they need to efficiently understand how your projects are moving along. The structure of Confluence is made up of what is something called spaces. And if you're familiar with Jira, Jira works in projects, and then inside of projects, they have issues inside of that. Confluence has a similar structure. Their main area is a space, and then the space contains pages. And then in that page are all kinds of different resources that you can link to within the context of a page itself. And so I'm going to be showing you a couple of different pages, different spaces to show you some of the features as you work out. And again, how might you organize your space itself? Well, a space could be around a particular project that's being worked on, a project team. It could be a department, and it's not just limited to IT. You could have within your organization your HR department, your accounting department, your recruiting department. They all have their own spaces within Confluence where they can manage their communications, they can manage links to their resources, they can manage their policies, etc., all within one location. And then you just simply can link to whatever else that you have. So you may or may not have your actual document repository in your Confluence instance, but you may link to it. Say, for instance, if you are in, for us at XPM, we are a Google shop, and so we link to Google Drive folders. But you could also be linking to any other type of repository you have. So if it's a OneDrive, if it's SharePoint, if it's box.net, or some other type of resource to where your documents are, you can link to them. But then you can also have actual attachments within it if you needed to. So your org chart, your decision trees, certain forms that you want to have accessed from your Confluence instance, all those are available. And then lastly, Jira can be integrated with your Confluence space, which is really the most powerful resources that we have with Confluence, is that Confluence can talk directly to Jira, and Jira can content can come directly to Confluence for reporting purposes. And we'll see that there's some really powerful macros for doing that as we work through. So let me begin with some of the basic tools, and that is simple text editing. So again, this is a wiki style editor, and I'm going to show you a couple of these things, and then I'll peel back the curtain and go into the edit mode to show you some of the actual layouts and the tools themselves. And so you have basic functionality of creating numbered lists or bulleted lists. And then I'll just go ahead and open this into edit mode, because you're also seeing this toolbar. By the way, I am in a cloud instance of Confluence, and I'm also at the, this instance is at the premium licensing level, and so it has a couple of features that I'll be showing you toward the end that if your organization is using the standard level, you may not have, but we could have the conversation with you if you like about considering moving up if you need to. But this is the cloud instance. There is also the data center instance. It has a slightly different look to it, but the outcome is very much the same. And so here is the toolbars. Here's basic text editing. You also have, you can also use headings. Here's the numbered list, bulleted list, and you just kind of see as I move along. A nice tool in on a Confluence page is the actions items, and so you can actually create action items, and I could actually then I can not only type in an action item, then I can also call out someone in your instance. And my buddy Ray, who's actually joining me for at least the first part of this webinar, he will actually be notified of this particular item is in there. And then you can also set a date by pressing the / a couple of times, and even select what day I need to have this done by. So, and so that's, we'll talk about then that you can even collect your number of tasks within your space and there's a macro that'll show you the tasks that have not been completed yet. So a really useful tool that looking at there, and then is the task ones. Do you need to have your content in a layout that where maybe you've got an image or a different type of text and then text describing it? This is a great way of managing the message behind your report. So this could be a bit of information, but this could be an explanation or context about that particular one, and that's using something called a layout, the layout tool. And it allows you to have several different types of layouts. And so the default is that you're in a single column layout or section, but then you can create different layouts if you need to manage the location of content on your page. You can also create and edit in tables. And there's a tables tool here, and then you manage the tables as you need to. There's lots of basic controls with managing your information in tables, and sometimes it makes more sense to work in tables instead of a layout. But just again, giving you ultimate types of control over the look and feel of the page. You get to manage where content is located, how it's displayed, and you get to potentially explain data using the location of content itself. And so again, the basic tools, again, not difficult, but at least you know what some of those are. Another interesting feature that is common to shared location of files is that on pages where you have multiple people accessing the pages, the idea could be that you might have teams editing a document or a page as you're having a meeting or discussing together to make changes. Confluence allows for simultaneous editing. And so I am going to click into the edit tool here, and my colleague Ray is also going to do that. And in fact, I already see that Ray is here on the page. And as we start to make changes to this page, I can see the changes that he's making. He can see the changes that I'm making. And then when we're finished, we both can publish this page. And we can see the changes that are going on. This also adds to something called the history of the page. And in our Confluence Bootcamp, we actually go into this quite a bit, showing you how you can see the different versions. You have the ability to restore to previous versions. You can compare versions to see what the changes were. Ends up being a great tool for you as far as managing the ongoing evolution of a page. If you need to manage those things, there's great ways to take a look at that. Another feature with simultaneous editing or collaborating on a page would be commenting. And commenting in the clouds side can be done both while you're just simply viewing the page, or it can also be done while you're editing. But there's two places to comment. One is at the bottom of a page itself. You can make overall comments over the page. And so I could, please review. And again, you can tag them there. You also have the ability to use most of the tools that are in the toolbar itself. So you can add tables, you can add code snippets, there's links and images. So there's a lot of the same functionality that's actually on the page itself, just within the commenting area. And so that's commenting on the at the bottom of the page, but there's also inline commenting. So I can actually select text on the page and create a comment. Again, a lot of the same features are there as well, but then when viewers see the page, they can see the comment, and then you have the ability to view it, reply to it, and then you can even resolve it, and the comment marker goes away from there. So again, great tools for helping you to work together to collaborate on your pages in your Confluence site, and that is, so we've seen simultaneous editing, and now we're seeing commenting. Commenting includes again a lot of features that you can also use, and so the macros for even tables, certainly the use of emoji, whatever else to help you in your communicating together to work with that. Let me move on to other topics. Linking is a very powerful tool in Confluence, and particularly in Confluence Cloud. It not only has the ability to show you information, but there's different ways that it can be displayed. And so I want to go into the editing mode and just show you a couple of things here. This is a link to another page in Confluence, but you can see I have a couple of choices as far as how I want to display this as the URL of the location, as something called an inline, which is what we're seeing here, or this is the card view. If I click to show you that one, it's showing you a card view, and this is actually a Google Drive folder in our instance. And I have a couple of choices here. I can either show the card to go get to it. I like the embed option though. This is a relatively new feature, but it actually can show me, especially if I'm sharing folders, I have the ability to expose the contents of that folder. Now this is not in my Confluence instance. This is a Google Drive folder that XPM uses. And because it's in a shared location, all those that have access to this folder could view the contents that way. So again, a great way to display the actual files that you're using in your organization without having to embed them in the Confluence instance. I will show you how to do attachments though in just a little bit too. It also recognizes when it is media, like a YouTube video. So if I would just paste it in there, it automatically embeds it as the video format goes, and so that's the automatic display embed. So they don't have to leave your page to view your media. This is also true if you have other types of media that you use. So this is a YouTube link coming from a website, but from wherever you're managing your video repository, you can also embed the media so that they don't have to leave the page to see that. Links are created by simply using the link tool. You either select be in text. Well, I guess I have to. If I select text and link it to something else, either another page, another section there, and then you can also add a link to an image. And so this is an image that has a link to an outside connection there. So again, great ways to use linking within your pages for visual purposes, for navigational purposes, and for bringing in outside content without having to leave. Other links that you can do, simply anything that you can copy and paste in here. So email addresses are common. Whatever you need to link to inside or outside of your Confluence instance, Confluence handles those links very well, so that you can again control within a singular location of where people are coming to. They can view your content. So linking, attachments. Again, as I mentioned earlier, your content may be somewhere else, but for those places where you do need to make an attachment, whether that is a file, or if it is an image that you in there, so again, a decision tree or chart or whatever you want to have in there, you can manage those too. Let me go and just kind of peel back the curtains and show you that this is a macro called attachment. And I'm going to look at a lot of the other attachments. The files macro, which is also this button here. And you can go and grab files either in the instance or in your location, or an image. And then there are a couple of macros that are behind the scenes as well that can show you all of the attachments that a page has, and display them when the page is being viewed. If I publish this again. So you may or may not decide to embed your attachments onto your page, but you could create, for instance, something like this that lists all of your macros that are available to you from this particular page, with the option of also being able to permit the ability for viewers to add additional attachments to your page if you wanted to do it that way. And then there's another macro called the gallery macro. So for attachments that are images, you could have displayed all your images in one location instead of in the single place. And so a couple of different options there on your attachments. We also, I'll show you a couple other macros when we get down to the macro section about displaying other ways to display your attachments. And it's a useful tool. I'll talk briefly about other types of plugins that you can use for other types of attachments. So Confluence is very extensible with whatever you need to display. There's probably some way to get it there through a simple add-on or just the right type of macro to use. In fact, let me talk about a couple of macros that I think are interesting as far as well, let me just display for the PDF one. So here is a PDF macro, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to scroll through the document. Imagine you have a slide deck. Well, if you were to convert it to a PDF, you could display it there and people could scroll through without that, versus what's called the Embed Macro, which I go into. Here's a sample of a Word document. Again, this is the embed document. These are not edit, by the way. They are viewing a static image of the document, whether it's Word, whether it's Excel, whether it's PDF. There are macros that you can use that allow you to access the file in its actual location, such as a Google Drive folder or your OneDrive folder, and allow for actually simultaneous editing of those outside documents. By default, Atlassian with Confluence uses it with Google Drive folders, but there are plugins that can be used with Microsoft Office folders too, or documents as well. Just walking through some of these other types of macros that are useful, and then I'll move into the Jira integration tools, which are also kind of useful. These are common macros. Let me show you again. Let me show you how to get access to them, and then I'll show you what some of these macros do. While you're editing a page, the very last tool on the toolbar is the macro page. And if I want to view, I'll see that there's actually quite a few available. And any plugins that you add to your instance probably are going to offer macros as well, so that you have the ability to utilize whatever that plugin is. So if it's some sort of a BI reporting tool, to be able to display a BI report, that whatever that tool is that created it into your page, this is where those can be done with all the types of different macros that are on here. So there's several that are in here. I want to highlight a few of them for you. Page tree, which is just a listing of all the pages in this particular space. And this one even has a preview of a couple of things. And so a really useful navigation tool throughout your space, as typically this can be put on the very top overview page to help your viewers navigate through your page itself. There's some interesting tools to help make the look and feel of your text in your document better. These are called panel macros, and they have different icons and colors that you can use. So a great way to draw attention to specific types of information on your page, as well as these buttons, status buttons that you can use that, again, you can control the color, you can control the text, And again, a good way to manage those. I'll show you those when I get to my my report page for a project report. There is a table of contents tool, and if you are using things like headings in your text editing, then you can generate a table of contents throughout your page, especially for lengthy pages. It's a great way to manage navigation on a simple page. One of our favorite macros here at XBeam is what's called the expand macro. It allows you to manage the vertical space on your page. So if you have, say, for instance, a definition, you can actually have them expand to see what that definition is, but then maybe the next time they don't need to see it. And so you could actually collapse it again. We use this on our engagement pages. We'll put the statement of work inside of that so that when we're working with clients, anytime they need to review what was the statement of work, they have that available. A great tool for, again, managing the look and feel of your page, as well as managing vertical space of your page as well. What if you have content that is from one page, but you want to make sure that the content is only edited on one page, but you might need to make that content displayed onto another page, even another space that you have access to. This could be your mission statement. This could be your primary driver for this quarter's efforts, whatever that happens to be, and you want that to appear in other places. This is a macro called the Excerpt macro, and so this text here is the selected excerpt, and then on the other page that I want to display that uses a macro called Excerpt include. And so here is the excerpt, and then here is the excerpt include. So you can see the text. So you only edit in one place instead of multiple places. Great tool from there. What if you need to include the contents from an entire page? And apparently I have a navigation issue that I didn't correct. But basically, the contents of an entire page can be in there. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Well, let's see what page I want to include. So this is the entire contents from another page, but again, not having to recreate the content. So I'm only managing the content from one place, but having it displayed in more than one location as needed. A great tool for that. There is a macro for inserting roadmaps, and if you are at the premium level of Jira, you can also do an advanced roadmap embed, and so a great way to visualize the status of a project for your project members. I will edit this in Jira itself, but if I want to just see how I'm doing, it's a great way to view the content from there. The task report macro. Remember, I was creating tasks on an earlier page. This will look at all tasks within this space and collect them together. There are a couple of templates that use this. Particularly, we like the meeting notes template, and I'll show you templates in a second. And it allows you to collect tasks throughout that area into one location until they are completed, and then once they're completed, they will they'll fall off this list. There's a couple others. There's something called contributor summary. So you're getting a summary of who has been contributing, and then also content reports based on the name, title, and days modified. So for controlling, for analysis of your pages, this might be a good use of your space administrators to work with that if you like. But again, it's just some great macros. There's a lot more that we could talk about, but I want to move into the Jira integration ones, because I think those are the parts that many of you are probably interested in looking at. And so let's talk about what you could do out of the box with Jira. The first thing you can do from Confluence is that you can create a Jira issue. And so In this instance, I have a Jira instance connected to this with this Confluence one as well, just to show. So there is a Jira instance located as well, and I can, while looking at a page, select text just like I was going to comment, but instead of commenting, create an issue. And I need to select which project I want to go to. What type of issue is this? Maybe this is a task, maybe or user story. Now I do have to, I fill in then the selected text, put in what is called the summary of an issue in a Jira project, and then I have the option of adding to the description of that as well. So couple of basic fields that I'm filling out, but I can from there create a Jira issue. And just in full disclosure, there is the issue that it created. And there is the link back to the Confluence page that it's associated with. I can also create issues from a table to create multiples. Imagine you're in a meeting discussing the project, and you have a table in your notes page regarding potential tasks to add to your project. Well, I'm in a bug meeting right now, and I need to highlight some of the bugs that my DevOps team has been running into, and I want to then add all of those as new bugs into my project. I can select the items on this table and create issues, and because it is in a table, it recognizes the option that I actually want to create more than one issue at a time. So here is where I can then, based upon the columns, so I actually called my column headings summary and description. That doesn't really matter what they're called, but I need to create several new bugs because in the meeting we discovered them, and now we need our DevOps team to start working on them. And so here I will create four new bugs in that project. If I go and look at issues, you will see that 4 new bugs were added to the project itself. This is really a powerful tool for those that are wanting to see how tightly integrated those two are. And so just the ability to create issues from a Confluence page is a very powerful tool. But let me show you the other direction. How do you have Jira speak to or present itself in Confluence as well? It's a great tool. Let me show you some things that we can do. And I'm going to switch to another space then and go into one of our demo sites. So this is a very typical page that we create when we engage with our clients regarding the new project. And so what you're seeing here is a collection of macros, some that you've already seen. So like the info panel, the attachments macro. This is a calendar that if you have the premium license level of Confluence, you can add calendars to your instance. They can either be created new or they can be linked to existing calendars that are already in your instance. Just a matter of adding the link to those particular ones. But you can see if a project team were working together, you could see in this one location here, without having to navigate outside, the progress of your events. Here is that status button. And then this is a table. And let's talk about why this might be a useful tool for you. That is, again, I could just be showing you information from Jira, and these are what are called issue reports or issue lists, and it's going to Jira itself, and based upon the Jira search called JQL, Jira Query Language, it's then displaying the results of that search into the corresponding Confluence instance so that they can see those. And so this is a great tool. I'm going to peel back and show you how that's done. But first, I am not only showing you information, but I have, because of my ability to create a simple table, I can give you context and explanation of where things are and what are you looking at when you see this information. So I can see that if I'm doing a weekly summary meeting with the management team, I can show them, well, this is what we've gotten done this week. This is what we're working on. This is what's still in our to-do list that we need to work on. All those things are important, and I will show you, but I can then give context in the actual table itself. Let me peel back the curtains again and show you a couple of those macros as well. What we're looking at are macros, and if I type Jira, I will see issues and filters, charts, roadmaps, advanced roadmaps. Because I have advanced roadmaps on my Jira instance, I can also show that. And so you're seeing a few that are built in, and then there are others that you can use that can be added from the marketplace. So now that I've shown you that, let me just show you. This is a simple JQL search. So for those of you that have done searching in your JQL instance, that's just simply a search that was created in Jira. You could type it from here. I'll tell you, as the best practice for me is I go ahead and create the search in Jira. I then copy that search and then come into my Confluence page and paste it into this list. So that's the actual results of what I'm looking for in a project. Show me everything that's not an epic and in review or the status. So in one of those in process ones, and then I can choose what I want to include in the display itself, the number of issues, what columns do I want to see. Maybe I'm interested in who the assignee might be. And then when I insert that macro, I'll also then get the additional content. So that's really just simple searches, but they're revealed into your page itself. Here, if I scroll down, I'll come back to this one. This is the one that's not only the search, but here is a macro for a chart. The exact same search, but displayed, one in an issues list, another in a chart view that you can see. So again, great tools for bringing information, not only showing them the actual items, but you can have a couple of visualizations, and you also have the ability to add context, which you manage the message as you're dealing with this, and it's so easy to update for your teams. And plus, this is also interactive, and so when I go to publish this again, it's not just seeing the list. I can go into the instance. You saw me do that when I created the issue before, but it also works on your reports. It is interactive as well. Let me scroll up. For those of you that are using advanced roadmaps, there is an advanced roadmaps gadget for displaying one that's in your Jira instance. It is read-only, so they can view the content. If they need to work with it, then they're either going to go into the Advanced Roadmaps app, which is in Jira software, or if they just need to view it. So a great reporting tool, so I can see, here is the list. If I actually want to view, these are hyperlinked, I can actually go into that particular task itself and take a look at it. I have, again, the read, I'm not going to be playing with the dates in here, but I can expand at whatever hierarchy I'm using in my advanced roadmaps. If this is intriguing you, by the way, we have a couple of webinars that we talk about some of these other tools. We also cover this extensively in the Jira Bootcamp that we offer. We also have a one-day user academy, and so there's options to talk about as far as training goes. So then the question becomes, would you, where should the report be? So obviously, for those of you that are Jira users, you might be using a dashboard in Jira where you have your dashboard gadgets displaying the information, and that's fine. It's a great location for visualizing information from your projects. What's missing is that that the ability to add the context and add the text. And so while it's most likely that your actual project team will probably stay in Jira, and because they can work with their Kanban boards, they can work with their dashboard gadgets as needed, and they'll likely stay there and spend less time in Confluence itself. But for reporting to management team and any type of external audiences that want to see the progress of a project, it's most likely that they'll want to go to a Confluence space instead. Again, because you have the ability to customize it, to manage it, and to help people understand, to clarify just exactly what it is that they're looking at. And so again, looking at this one, this has the calendar, the status reports, brief summary of where we are, what's been accomplished, what's in progress, what we still have to do, the roadmap, deliverables. And then as I mentioned before, this is where when we have an engagement with a client, we actually go ahead and use the expand macro, and we'll use the statement of work for people to see. So hopefully this is a great tool for you to understand how this could be leveraged within your IT projects, but it doesn't have to be just that one itself. Let me jump to another space and show you a couple of other things, how this can be used. And also talk about templates real quick as we go through these things. So a lot of these are created off of blank pages, but there are literally dozens of templates available that you can use, especially in the cloud instance. And we've taken to using a couple of these ourselves at XBM here. Oh, wrong one again. And so one of them is called Meeting Notes, and it does a great job of allowing you to create new meeting notes itself, and then there's a summary page of that. This is that action memo, action items macro that was on there. But as you're generating your meeting notes, it actually, so a lot of things are preset for you. This can also be customized. We actually show people how to do that in our Confluence Bootcamp itself. And so the meeting notes are important, but then I also want to show you some integration with some other tools. For those of you that like to use some other type of whiteboarding tool, we're a big fan of using Miro boards. And so you can bring in a Miro board for those of you that are using something like Trello boards. This also integrates with Trello as well, that you can utilize. So you could have someone working on the Trello board, but the displaying of the information can be in there, and so they can see it from there. And then another feature of this is the embed macros for documents. This is the one. This is from our Google Drive one. So a Google Sheet, a Google Doc. There are plugins that you can get in the marketplace that would allow you to do a similar effect with Microsoft files if you need to as well, Word documents, Excel documents, if you actually want to do that as well. Let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about from there. So hopefully you're seeing that this is that the tool itself can be can offer a lot of functionality, a lot of extensible ways to use this. And so it's not just limited to software project teams. You can find lots of ways for different groups within your organization to work. That this is a place for collaboration. This is a place for centralized organizational information, and there's a lot. And because it is so extensible, I think we probably need to talk a little bit about um, the need for governance for how you're going to use your tool itself. Um, Despite the tool and despite the extensibility and the flexibility and all the things that you can do with it, um, in all honesty, uh, there's not a lot keeping you from making a really disorganized space. Um, uh, the tools themselves, because they are so extensible, that if you're not having a good approach to how you're going to use it, all this is going to do is amplify whatever dysfunction your organization is already experiencing. Um, there isn't a magic organize me button, if you will, as we're working through this. And so we actually recommend um, an actual governance space within your Jira or your Confluence instance that actually talks about how should your groups use Confluence. What are the recommended page types? What recommended templates? Location of content, whether or not you're going to be using labels or not. There's lots of things that you do, but that's a conversation about the people, and that's a value that Atlassian has really always held to, is that it's really about the people. It's about the people first, then it's about your processes, and then finally it's about the tools that you're going to use. And so for those of you that are looking at your Confluence governance, we really recommend, if from XTM to our clients, we say this is a whiteboard discussion first, or a Miro board discussion, is how you want to manage the content, where it's going to work, what are your processes, and then it's there where we then create begin to create the actual objects, whether that's in Confluence, whether it's in Jira, whether it's in Jira Align, whether it's in Jira Service Management, all those items. It's a people discussion first, as far as how you want to organize it, and then you build your structure from there. And I wish I could tell you that there is a magic governance pattern that all organizations should follow. And unfortunately, the answer is there is no one correct way to do it. It's a matter of understanding your organization and how they want to get work done, and how your groups talk to each other, and what is the definition of done, what is the definition of work accomplishments, and progress. All those things are a part of that. And then your governance space then will help to avoid the confusing information, duplicate information. You want to manage those things. So having said that, we have a webinar. One of our webinar contents, just like you got to this one, is actually called Governance itself. And in about an hour, we'll talk about just those very things, what your organization should go through to think about what types of roles will be involved in your governance and what types of functions would they do. And so the next one is coming up on April the 7th. Recommend that if you haven't thought about this yet, it's certainly worth your time to view, to get in an organized fashion, the review of it. It's also a great time for your stakeholders to take a look at it, just to see how you want to manage. And this applies to all Atlassian products. It actually applies to your own environment. How are you governing the data that your organization uses, where it's located, how it gets used, what are the policies about it, who's responsible for those things? All of that is a great tool that you can use on our governance one. And while you're there, you can also take a look at the other events that are on our calendar. Maybe you found us that way, but we have lots of events. Again, every Thursday we have our webinar, and then we also have our premium types of training that are typically hands-on. So whether it's Confluence or Jira, we're really kind of excited about this one. For those of you that are looking at Jira Service Management, are utilizing it, we actually have developed a Jira Service Management Bootcamp. Again, a one-day bootcamp, but it is hands-on and loaded with best practices. So some great items there to be considering in your use of Atlassian products. So as I kind of circle back to Confluence, I know I did a little commercial there for you, but shameless self-promotion happens. I hope that you have seen some functionality that maybe you hadn't seen before, or you just wanted to see how it was used in practice. But hopefully you're seeing that Confluence is a very powerful tool for generating and managing information about your organization. It can also be more specifically about projects within your Jira instance and other Atlassian tools that you are using. But it's a great resource to centralize so that your people can go to one location for the information, instead of relying upon your intranet, your email, your instant messaging, what all the other tools that you have for where information might be, your document management system, wherever it is. But in a single location, they can go and get all the information they need, even though that information is not necessarily in your Confluence instance, but it is linked to wherever those locations are. So I hope that this has been a valuable time for you. Maybe you've got some questions that have arisen during our presentation. So I'd like to maybe take a look at if we have anything in the Q&A. I welcome any questions in the Q&A module if you'd like. So sometimes we get questions about things about can you manage access to pages or to spaces themselves, and that is certainly possible. There is the ability to at a page level, you can place restrictions. So right now the default out of the box is that it's open, but you have the ability to control it, or you can manage that it's a read-only with limited editors. You can do that at the page level, and then you can even manage it at the space level as well, being able to control that as well. Can you create an org chart within Confluence? There's not out of I don't believe there's a macro out of the box, but if you have, I don't think so. No, but there's possibly one in the marketplace to help you do that. Typically what happens though is those types of things are created with really the best software that's doing that, and then you either can copy and paste or you can link to it. And so lots of times the macro in here is the iframe or the link embed, and that's a great tool for that. So again, you may or may not be creating those things, but it's certainly the possibility to do that. How did you pull up the left sidebar for each space you open? It seems easier to see the pages in that space. It's a simple tool. If this is what you're talking about, it's the collapse or open the sidebar. I was leaving it collapsed on one and showing it on the other, if that's what you're referring to. By default, it does stay open. It is a little bit dependent upon your screen resolution and how big your browser tab is. At some point, if this were narrow, because I have a wide resolution here, if I were to squeeze this in, eventually this would automatically collapse. The same is true in Jira as well. It'll do those things. Other questions that you might want to have? Anything that you'd like to briefly see? Some people just want to know about, I'll show you while we're here, just while we can. The premium level has the ability to create the calendars, as you saw on the report page. There's also something called analytics that you can choose, and it'll analyze your space or analyze your page to show you what type of traffic it's getting. This might be a good tool for analyzing whether or not a page is getting the type of traffic you were hoping for, and if so, then you would either bump up a page or highlight it somewhere else that's in there. Another question, if you have comments at the bottom of the page, can you delete those at any time, or will they stay in the history? So if I go into a page, this is driven by permissions. And does it stay in the history? I really would have to research the audit log on something like that. By default, if you created the comment, you have the ability to delete. You may resume the administrators have the ability to delete all comments, but people can delete their own. They can also edit their own. And that's a common type of permission that Atlassian products create. So whether you're in Jira, whether you're in Confluence, when you're creating comments, the person that creates the comment has the ability to edit and delete. It's a more higher up permission as to whether or not you can edit or delete all comments or delete others. And also would be true of attachments. You can add attachments. So Bootcamp recommendations for entry-level Scrum Masters. Yes, I would highly recommend the Jira Bootcamp, which we do about every 6 months. We also do some custom client ones, but you'll find that on our events page as well, and I would highly recommend that you take a look at that. Will we be sharing a webinar? Yes, we do record these, and they will be posted on our YouTube channel, which is where, Kylie, my project coordinator, on our YouTube channel, we have all of our recorded webinars are here. We also have several events that we do, and we play with a couple of other ideas that we'll create. So sometimes some of these are just very short, idea-based, or others are lengthy recordings. We had a very successful event on IT service management, and it was a 3 or 4 hour event, and we recorded those. Our guys got dressed up in pit crew outfits. And so anyway, we encourage you to come and visit our space. Hopefully you are informed by them. We like to have fun, and we like to be informative. And if we can be of assistance with you, hopefully this will drive conversations in the future. If we can be of assistance to you and your company, we would be delighted to have that conversation. So I want to say thank you for joining me. Again, I hope this has been informative for you, and wish you all the best luck in using your influence, your use of Confluence. So thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you in future webinars. Thanks a lot, everyone.